G'day ladies and gents, and welcome back to DCS World with Mags, and welcome back aboard the A-18C Hornet. So we're going to start off with a little bit of a carrier launch here. We're going to do some ground attack today. Now, I did have a few questions about this in the first video where I showed the carrier launch, the pull-up at the end of the catapult. There were a few comments on that video about how you're not meant to pull up at the end of a catapult launch, and this is absolutely correct. If you notice the stick there, I did not actually pull up. The FCS automatically performs the pull-up on its own, which is actually why you're not meant to pull back on the stick. The FCS is already going to pull the aircraft up at the completion of the launch. If you add any more input to it, you can put the aircraft into a stall. And for those wondering if there's anything in particular you need to do for the launch, there is not. Once the aircraft is prepped and locked on the catapult, all you need to do is push the throttles to maximum, and the launch will initiate completely on its own. So I know many of you have been asking, when will the aircraft actually be available in early access to the public? And it has now been announced, for those of you who are unaware of the release dates, the Hornet will be available on the 30th of May, the Persian Gulf map will be available on the 23rd of May. Now, Eagle Dynamics' original plan was to have the Hornet out before the Persian Gulf map. However, there is a number of systems that have not been functional in the alpha and are still not functional now. They're taking a little bit longer to get together, so they want a little bit more time so they can actually finish them up, and there's some pretty important systems. The radar-directed air-to-air gun sight, the AIM-9s and the AIM-7s still need to be finished up. The auto-bombing mode and the radar contacts on the electronic warfare page are all non-functional at this point, along with the moving map. They're trying to get all of these systems ready for early access before the aircraft goes into your hands, which is why they needed a little bit of extra time. But the plane will be available in, well, at the time of making this video, 11 days. So, not much longer to wait now, and you'll be up in the sky in this bird as well. Well, providing you've pre-ordered the aircraft, of course. So, the skin we're flying out in today is the RAAF 75 Squadron skin. Yes, I'm fully aware the 75 Squadron does not operate off a carrier, no RAAF Hornets do, but I wanted to do the carrier launch regardless. And we are going to go and do a little bit of a ground strike mission. I've set up a little target package, a little arms deal, consisting mainly of soft targets, lots of trucks, lots of troops, a couple of anti-aircraft guns, and some crates representing some cargo. The objective is to destroy the cargo for this particular mission. Once it's destroyed, and preferably the transport trucks along with it, we'll be heading back to a land-based runway to put the Hornet down. I've set up a little RAAF base in Kasab, which is on the south side of the Gulf, near the peak, and that's where we'll be ending the mission. Now at this point we're about 25 miles out of the next waypoint. You can see on the MFD to the left with the HSI. I like to have the HSI up where I can see it nice and clearly during the earlier part of the flight as I'm setting myself up, but as we are now getting into the target area, it's time to set it over to the stores page. Now, the waypoint, which is now 23 miles out, is the last waypoint. It's the fence-in point before we head directly to the target zone. So we've still got a little bit of travel time here. So for today's mission, we're flying out in RAAF colours. This is the RAAF 75 Squadron skin. There's surprisingly actually two skins available for Australia. We've got 75 Squadron and 77 Squadron available. So the two primary Hornet squadrons in the RAAF are both represented with this release, and these will be available in the early access. So inside 14 to fence in, so it's time to start getting the weapon systems ready to rock and roll. So first off, we'll start with the master arm. Activate air-ground mode, and we're going to start off with the Mk.82 Snake-eyes. Now, the Mk.82 Snake-eye is a Mk.82 general-purpose bomb with a set of drag fins that slow the bomb's deployment down, so that the aircraft is clear of the blast area by the time the weapon impacts the target point. It's designed for low-level bombing, which is what we're going to be doing today. Now, all the pylons on the Hornet are loaded with twin-store vertical ejection racks for this particular flyout, so we can load two weapons onto each pylon. The outer pylons are both carrying twin Mk.82 Snake-eye, so we have 4 of them available, and the inner pods are carrying twin rocket pods, for 4 pods in total. I do believe they were Zunis that I loaded up. So at this point, we do a waypoint change. This waypoint will lead us directly to the target area. Now, the target is 2 groups of trucks, one representing the buyers, one representing the sellers. As I said, I set this up as a bit of an arms deal that we're trying to take out, with a number of ammunition crates between the 2 trucks. and about 20 or 30 infantry on the ground to represent the buyers, sellers, and the guards, and there is 4 truck-mounted insurgent anti-aircraft guns placed around the outsides of the target zone. So there is anti-aircraft defences as we come through. Now I do have a wingman for this particular flyout. He's equipped with exactly the same weapons load as I am. I'm going to have him engage the anti-aircraft defences once I've done my first bombing pass. And the Aussie accent there is actually from a patrol of RAAF Hornets that I put up that are currently heading into land at the little RAAF base that I set up that we'll be returning to at the end of this mission. So lining up on target.
Altitude.
Now we're going to get a break X here in a second. That is just an indicator to let us know that if we continue on course, we're either going to fly into the weapons blast or we're going to hit the ground. We're not going to worry about that. We are going to pull up and release. And impact on target. And it looks like that went straight into the ammunition dump between the trucks. Continuing high and right to level, we're keeping it under 3G, only at about 2G at the moment as we get back into level flight. Then we're going to give an order to our wingman to begin engaging the air defences around the area, and we'll assess the damage and head back in for a second pass.
Flight. Engage targets of opportunity.
Now honestly, for the way I've set this mission up, that hit directly on the ammunition stores, judging from that explosion. So technically that's the completion of the mission, but bringing all this ordnance out here and not continuing to hit the target with it would be an awful shame. But anyways, as you can see, weapons deployment in CCIP mode is pretty straightforward. Rocket deployments are pretty much exactly the same as what you see here, and we'll do one of those in just a moment. So bringing it back around and lining up with the fire. Now it's nice and easy to find the target. Now I'm going to drop 2 here, 1 early and 1 on the target area again. Impact on 2. With a little bit of luck, we took out one of those anti-aircraft trucks then. And we can see the nice new explosion effects now as well. It's yet another one of those really nice new effects that Eagle Dynamics have put in. It is much improved over the previous explosions. Anyway, we've still got 1 bomb left on board, but we're changing over to the rocket deployments now. And we've set the rockets up to a salvo release because, well, honestly, I'm just going to spray down the area. At this point, the rockets are going to be more for taking out any of the infantry that I've missed, rather than actually trying to take out anything at the target zone. Wingman's getting ready to make his pass. We're lining up for ours as well.
Altitude. Altitude.
Lining up and just waiting for the in-range indicator. And there it is, we're now in range. Let's get a little closer. Salvo away. And that looked like it was well aimed. Looked like it hit exactly on target. Brake high and clear. What a mess down there. And I don't really want to go back to base with 1 bomb remaining under the wing, so we're going to reset for bomb deployment. Bring the aircraft back around, and we're going to drop this last bomb off. There's probably not a whole lot left there to actually destroy.
Flight, join up.
Get our wingman back onto our side and once this bomb's away, we'll start heading back home. Now I wanted to come in for a fairly low level pass on this one so I can get a nice external shot looking at the targets from the outside of the aircraft. You can see the destruction effects are a hell of a lot nicer than they used to be. So last bomb away, and judging by the shots we were taking then, I reckon most of that was probably small arms fire, but we get another burst through here on our right. That is definitely one of the anti-aircraft gun positions, so there is still one of them still active, but they are not targets for this particular flight. Air-ground mode off. Master arm off. And it's time for us to start exiting the area. So set nav point 4. And that gives us our exit out of the area, and then nav point 5 will bring us into our runway. So as you can see, unguided weapons deployment on the Hornet is pretty straightforward. There's nothing overly complicated about it. And I will say, even with the small amount of time that I've actually had with the aircraft at this point, it's one of the nicest aircraft to do those kind of deployments in, and it's one of the aircraft that I feel the safest in doing it in. The A-10 is a fantastic platform for deploying unguided weapons, but it is a little bit slow, which means you do feel vulnerable whenever you're inside of the AO, being at relatively close range to the enemy's anti-aircraft defences. However, in the Hornet, you've got that much speed and that much power. Clearing out to a safe distance is incredibly easy, and the fact that it is an exceptional fighter and you do always have air-to-air guided missiles available to you, you are fairly secure in your ability to defend yourself from other aircraft. I'm very much looking forward to trying the guided weapon systems as soon as they're available. And so that brings us to the landing, and I didn't realise it at the time, but I actually increased my own difficulty level a little bit here. To set up the carrier launch, I gave myself a 20 knot headwind directly into the front of the carrier, as you would want for a carrier launch. However, the runway isn't running exactly the same direction the carrier is running, so I now have a 20 knot crosswind at a 45-degree angle across the runway to deal with, which was causing me a little bit of an issue lining up for the runway. It was pushing me a little to the left. Although, more than anything, that was my fault for not anticipating it, as I didn't realise that I had actually done it to myself until I was fairly close to the runway. I also came in a little bit too high, but I managed to counter that out by nosing down to drop the altitude and then flaring at the end, which is something you're probably not meant to do in the Hornet, but it did bring it down to about a 280 feet per minute descent rate, which is well within the 700 that is the tolerances for the undercarriage of the F-18. Touchdown speed was also 163 knots, which is around 300 kilometers an hour. Again, probably a little bit too fast, but I'm pretty sure that is also within tolerances, so that was okay. What I wasn't expecting is that on touchdown, the nose wheel steering activated. So the aircraft started wobbling all over the runway. I was not expecting that to happen, so in future I will have to make sure that the nose wheel steering is off before actually making any landing approaches. Anyways, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you very much for watching. Once again, the Hornet will be available on the 30th of this month, so around 11 days from the time of recording this video, with the Persian Gulf map being available on the 23rd of this month. As always, please check the video description down below for links to my social media, links to my Patreon, and links to my Twitch. And as always, remember to click that like button, share and subscribe if you would like to see more, and until next time, take care.